Hello and welcome. My name is Scott Suskovic. I'm pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, and welcome to this podcast that we call Deeper Dive, in which we take a look at the previous Sunday's sermon and go at a deeper level for a great conversation. We're glad you're here. Hey, welcome to this next podcast of Deeper Dive. We're a couple of days after All Saints Sunday. Pastor Scott here.
Hey, I'm Pastor Ryan.
And boy, there's something about All Saints that really touches a nerve, doesn't it?
It really does. I don't know what it is. It touches me. I think it's that there's this love, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's not there. And we're forced into a place where we have to look and recognize.
You know, as a pastor, probably not as any other profession, maybe a mortician, but a pastor, I actually really enjoy talking with people who are going through grief, because grief is so complicated. People want to talk about it, but they don't know how to talk. Let me give you an example. There's been, a handful of times I can think about is that when a friend, mother, sister, brother died. And so I said, hey, can we all get together, this little posse of ours, can we all get together? And so we get together on the back porch. We've got a drink or two, some hors d'oeuvres, and we're chit-chatting about everything and nothing.
Mm-hmm, right.
And so finally I gather people together and I say, Joe, tell us about your sister.
Oh, nice.
He wants to talk about his sister, but it's not like he can clap his hand and say, okay, everybody come over here.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my sister right now.
That's too awkward. That would never happen.
That's too awkward. So I just met with the family of Marjorie Little-Jafors.
Yeah, 99 years, you said on Sunday.
And it is a fun, loving family. If you didn't know Walter, the dad,
No.
he cracked jokes at everything. And the family's got the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
There is no boundary. There's no filter. Somebody will be talking something serious and they'll throw it in, joke in, because that's just the way they communicate. But I've got some lead questions in my back pocket to help people talk about their grief.
Oh, okay. This is when you're with the family. You're trying to have them talk about grief because nobody wants to talk about it. So you're gonna head them off at the pass and open the gates.
Right. So it really has two purposes. One is to find some fodder for the sermon and to put together the bulletin.
Sure, right.
But second, it's really a pastoral care time. I asked, just begin, tell me a little bit about your mom. I mean, I've known her for 27 years, so.
Yeah.
But then I asked questions like, when you close your eyes and you picture your mom, what's the very first image that appears? When I close my eyes and I think about my grandfather, we are tying a red and white daredevil on a fishing pole on the levee of the Mississippi River in Red Wing, Minnesota.
Wow.
And so we're fishing together. That's my first image. And so I ask that question. And it's really interesting about what their image comes to mind.
What a great double purpose, because it is going to give you this cool story, right? What were you doing in Mississippi? What the heck is a daredevil, right? What? But then it allows them to speak about this person that they love in a way that, well, probably only they see.
Yeah. And one of them said she's on her hands and knees scrubbing the kitchen floor. I said, that's the image? That's the image you have of your mom?
Isn't that a beautiful image? But why? Let's go further, right?
Yes, I asked the question, why? And of course, it's because mom was the quintessential housewife of the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
And we had these chairs that always left black marks. And then the daughter...
And she wasn't going to have that in her house?
And the daughter said, and now I'm on my hands and knees, scrubbing the kitchen floor, making sure there's no marks.
Just as mom would want it.
Yeah. It's a good question. Another question is, how does she live on in the family? That is, oftentimes somebody has got her laughter, her nose, her sense of humor, her idiosyncrasies, and they just, and here's the follow-up question. And you can't talk about yourself. You have to point to somebody and say, "You've got her.
Fill in the blank.
You've got her." And that's where the conversation just gets rich about how mom's influence runs deep, not just the first generation. Oh, our granddaughter loves jewelry.
Oh, the
colorful jewelry that mom used to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's what All Saints Sunday does. It pauses us for a moment to be able to reflect on those people and the impact that they've had on our lives. But like we said, grief is complicated.
Well, and that's part of why we engage in this stuff, right? There is a reason to remember, right, that we have this sure and certain hope. But I don't know about you, but I was taught in all of these pastoral classes that we have to take that there's this thing called complex grief.
Mm-hmm.
And that those people who have had loss can get lost in that loss.
We talked about that loop on Sunday.
And so break the loop, get out of that place and get into a place where you can talk about the goodness, about the love, about the person.
Because that loop can be that guilt or that sorrow or that anger or that relief or that loneliness that will crop up at the most unexpected time with some trigger, a cologne, a radio, whatever.
And isn't there a kind of beauty that it's this time of year? Because this is the time of year that stuff crops back up.
Oh, what music?
Holidays.
Oh,
Thanksgiving and Christmas especially.
The days are shorter. It seems a little more reflective.
This is the time. And so if you lost your loved one back in February, maybe you've come into a place where you have a new rhythm.
Yep.
Right? And then you get blindsided.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's dark and there's no one in the house anymore. And you remember, oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And so we were looking on Sunday of breaking that loop that we find ourselves spiraling down in that complexity of our grief. And that phrase, of course, that I brought up was, but God.
But God. ... but God.
But God. And it was so good on Sunday in Contemporary that Spirit Song sang that song over and over again, rammed it home. But God, rich in mercy.
Loved that. That was great.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. But for God, what else would there be? But He's rich in mercy. He has these things He's willing to give to anyone who would accept. And so now all of a sudden, death is lost its sting, right? If we want to quote Paul.
So when I think about Scripture, it's really hard to say that there is a single focal point through Scripture. That too is very multi. But what I see woven through there, from the very beginning of Genesis all the way to Revelation, is this struggle with what in the world am I going to do with death?
Yeah.
Death comes in as an unexpected tragedy at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Death robs people, shakes our fist at God in the Psalms. We weep, and then, of course, the victory comes at the end with Revelation. But it seems like we have constantly struggled with this enemy called death.
Well, absolutely we have. And that was the one thing that we humans thought would stop God.
Mm-hmm.
So here, the one thing we know we can't stop, we'll use against you. And of course, God laughs.
You mean on the cross you're talking
That's
about.
That's exactly right,
we'll
as the tomb is empty.
Well, and I think the cool thing, that if you think about that message that's going through Scripture about how death and death and death and death, and one of the last lines there in Revelation 21, that wipe away tear and death will be no more.
Yeah,
death.
Yeah.
We're going to finally, when we talk about salvation, we can talk about forgiveness of sins. That's great. We can talk about living forever. That's great. But ultimately, we come full circle back to the Garden of Eden, where death was first introduced, and finally death is destroyed.
There is no substitute for God. He is the only answer for all of the things, not the least of which is death.
Yeah. There's I thought about a contemporary song. It might be from the 70s when I think say contemporary, maybe 80s, maybe it's probably 80s.
Classic, good old song.
It's that theme song from that movie Fame.
I'm gonna live forever.
And I think that behind that, I'm guessing, is that, boy, when I hit the lights and Broadway's got a spotlight on me and you're going to know my name, I'm going to live forever because my fame will outlast my physical breath.
Again, another human contrived
That's
effort.
exactly it. Human contrived. And all we're doing is just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
Because your fame is not going to last forever.
Yeah, no, I love this game. There was something our confirmands did the other month now, I guess, and they tried to name as many famous people that they could before the Renaissance. And they came up, Aristotle and Pythagorean, and you hit those guys, Socrates, but soon enough, you're out of names, and you've only named like maybe a dozen people.
Has to be outside the Bible too.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It's outside the Bible before the Renaissance, and so what's
Caesar?
Yeah, what are we showing here, right? That the overwhelming majority of people aren't going to live forever in that sense, in that fame-like sense. They're gone. Oh, but they're not gone.
But there's a whisper in our ear from the dark side.
It's Darth Vader, yeah. And what's the whisper?
Well, the whisper is that you're going to live forever with your own fame, with your own efforts. You're going to make a mark. So try a little harder. And that's where, that whole thing about selling your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I want to be somebody famous. But ultimately, that is just a lie.
Yeah, and that again is the problem, right? That we believe the lie.
That's why I think All Saints really is important to remember. Certainly for the 12 saints who have died and to acknowledge their impact in our lives. But what it does, it forces us, I suppose, in a way, to talk about death.
Yeah.
And how it sucks.
Yes.
And how it just disrupts our lives. But God.
That's a fabulous, there it is. But God.
But God takes away that ultimate enemy.
There is no more.
Yeah, death shall be no more.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, all the tears on Sunday.
Because we were forced, right? We force ourselves. In fact, we know that there are people who avoid this service.
Some avoid that service. But the tears there, you can't lump them into one because, as we said, grief is complicated. But I think most of them are just saying, in their own way, thank you for letting me remember this person fondly one more time.
Yeah, I almost got lost in the service there as I let myself be human, and I lit a candle for a woman, a good friend of mine who died unexpectedly recently.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready for that. I was blindsided because I pretty well compartmentalized that, right?
Yeah.
And then no, I'm going to face it here, and here we are in this moment, full of profound meaning that this isn't the end.
Yeah. Well, I want to welcome you to this coming Sunday. We're starting a new sermon series, 3-part, to get into Advent. It is called
Shabbat. No, that's not it.
That's the meaning of it.
It is, yeah.
Give it a rest.
Come on already.
Give it a rest. In which we're going to be talking about the gift of the Sabbath, the gift of taking a break, the gift of giving it a rest. So come and see.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your Sabbath habits and rituals, routines. Drop us a line, send us an email, or use some smoke signals. We'd like to hear from you.
See you next week.